Hey everyone, how are you? Happy to be here live on this Tuesdays with Tina. It's been a minute since I've done a live session with y'all, and I'm excited to be here today to talk a little bit about some of my favorite topics like local anesthesia, head and neck anatomy, and medical emergencies. Glad to have you here today. What we're going to talk about on Tuesdays with Tina is a little bit of um, bevel orientation. Now, when I'm doing workshops, certification courses, lectures, teaching my hygiene students, teaching many dental professionals about anesthesia, one of the questions that I get a lot is bevel orientation and the injections. Like, does it really matter? Do we care about that? And I'm going to say yes and no. And when when I get this question, a lot of it has to do with the time and effort that it takes to put the syringe together and knowing what does it mean to have the bevel oriented. So first of all, I have a little needle here. Sorry. Here we go. Here's a little needle here. But you'll see that on that needle, there is like a little indicator, right? So like this one has like a little kind of a black dot on it. Sometimes there's a little red dot. Usually, or there could be like a little line or something along those lines. What that is it's showing you or telling you what part of the needle is the needle opening. So crude drawing, very, very crude drawing. So I have a crude drawing. So this is the needle opening right there. That's the needle opening where the anesthetic actually flows out. And it's at an angle. That angle is called the bevel. It's like a beveled edge. We see this all the time when we talk about like picture frames, the beveled edge. So when we are giving injections, that needle has a beveled edge. That beveled edge makes it easy for it to penetrate tissue. And actually, the very, very tip of that beveled edge is what's going to penetrate the tissue. So when we have that oriented in a certain way, it could potentially make needle penetration a little bit easier. But in the mucosa of the mouth, not so much. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. Where we're going to see is the biggest difference is when it's time to administer anesthetic, especially on the palatal region, where we have the opening of that syringe, so the dot, towards the palatal bone. And the reason why that's a lot easier is because then the anesthetic solution, when it flows, it can flow up inside maybe the incisive foramen, or it can flow into the greater palatine foramen instead of into the very thick, spongy tissue where you're going to get a lot of that resistance. So if you have the bevel orientated in that way, it makes it super, super nice and easy. The other thing that bevel orientation can do for some people, and I will say that a lot of people that I've talked with that are also in the local anesthesia realm, they used to have a big thing of like, oh, needle deflection, bevel orientation limits needle deflection. Well, from the things that I've looked at, the people that I've talked to now, it really doesn't make that big of a difference to spend so much time being aware of where that bevel orientation is to make your needle deflection less. So there you go, friends. I hope that answers the question. Like, does it matter which way the needle bevel is orientated? Not really, unless you're doing a palatal injection. Then it is kind of nice to have it pointing up towards the palate. So there you go. It's been a little bit since I've done a Tuesdays with Tina. There's been a lot going on in the world of local anesthesia in my life, getting to travel across the nation, going to Georgia, staying here in Oregon, doing a lot of certification courses for dental hygienists and now dental assistants. And I know several people are like, but yes, I'm doing that as well. And coming soon, I'm working on doing some refresher courses across the nation as well, hoping to get onto the East Coast. I get lots of people asking about me going to the East Coast. So working on that. And if you are an organization and would love to bring me in, I'm happy to do that as well. So some other cool things that are happening in the world of dentistry is we are seeing buffering agents being used a lot more, which I'm going to tell you, friends, if you haven't been getting on the buffering game, do it. Do it. It makes everything so nice. It really takes the sting out of the injection, makes it a lot easier for our patients. It saves us a lot of time in the end as well, because our patients will get anesthetized pretty darn quickly, which is nice. Like, if you can have maybe 5 more minutes with your patient to perform quality treatment, or maybe finish your treatment and have time to educate them a little bit more, or maybe take a break, Wouldn't that be nice? So, buffer your solution. There's a couple of great options out there. I do want to provide some caution that if you decide to create your own buffering solution, be very, very careful because you can get your ratios off. So, I would recommend getting some of the pre-made ones that you can get from your dental distributor. There's two on the market. Premier has one called Buffer Pro. And then there's also Onset, which is the little green pen. Some people will go to a compounding pharmacy and have the compounding pharmacy make their buffering agent. Totally okay. Just got to make sure you remember like the appropriate amount that goes into the anesthetic solution, which is not very much, friends, not very much. So pay attention to all that information. Let's see, other things that are coming up in the world of a local anesthesia. There's some trends that are happening out there, looking at different syringes, making sure you have syringes that fit your hand. I'm a huge fan of that. So when you have the opportunity to go to dental meetings, dental conferences, talk to the instrument manufacturers there and find out what kind of syringes they have. I'll say that I am a big fan of the different sizes that companies like PDT have, where you have like a small, medium, and large. So you can have a syringe that totally fits your hand, makes stability a lot easier. Okay. All right, friends, short and simple Tuesdays with Tina this week. Fill me in. Let me know, what are some of the topics that you're curious about? Could be local anesthesia, could be medical emergencies, head and neck anatomy, all those different kinds of things. Happy to be back here with you guys and excited to continue on this journey of education with you all. Until next week, bye.